Hey guys, so if you're lucky enough to find yourself playing House Tyrell, I wanted to go over a quick strategy guide for them. I wanted to start off by going over what their early game looks like. Then I wanted to move into kind of what are those important castles or path to victories for you. And lastly, I wanted to cover what are some really key areas to defend as House Tyrell. So starting right off the bat, you have one major disadvantage over the other houses, and that is that you don't have any consolidate power special orders, so you can't muster. However, you do have a couple of key strengths as the Tyrells. You have the Arbor here, which assuming you take the West Summer Sea, provides you with a very easy area to consolidate power, so when you do eventually bid, you can bid high. You also have the Dornish Marches, which early on can get you power in case the bidding comes up a little bit earlier than expected. They truly are a house that starts off a little slow and grows significantly stronger as the game goes on. In the Red Wine Straits, I prefer to do a -1 march here. There's no chance of another player coming and contesting the West Summer Sea, so I think it's a good idea to take that while you have the chance. In the Dornish Marches, I prefer to start off by consolidating power there. In Highgarden, I like to do a march order here in order to move to Old Town and the Reach. Another option, if you're a player that likes to gamble a little bit, is you could take 3 towers or the Arbor. That would set you up for a round 2 additional consolidation of power. 3 towers would give you an extra supply in case that card comes up, although I think the chance of it doing so is very low. You could also go after Starfall, but I think an early game aggression towards the Martell is a dire mistake. Because of their house cards, which I'll cover in a later video, they're an incredibly defensive house, which punishes you a lot for attacking them. The other thing is something that I'll cover when I go over the castle's path to victory. Skipping the AI moves here. So I like to hold off on moving in Highgarden, just to let the other players do a couple more turns. One benefit you do have is you do end up going last on the Iron Throne track. That provides you a chance to see what all the other players are doing, since generally no one else will be playing anything more than 2 march orders. So let's move this ship out into the West Summer Sea first. So there is one unit in the Reach from Baratheon, and I find this rarely occurs in multiplayer, but it for some reason occurs a lot when I go through single player. So I'm going to take one knight and move him into the Reach. Having a footman there instead of a knight means you're a little less exposed. If you lose a footman, it's more ideal than a knight, and the Reach is a highly contested area, and it can also raid King's Landing, which is why it's kind of important for us. So in this situation, I did end up getting a chance to bid on the influence tracks, so I got a couple of special orders. So what I would do is muster units in Old Town, and Old Town's really valuable to you because it has a mustering value of 2. When you combine that with Highgarden, that gives you the capacity to really churn out troops. When you combine that with the ability to consolidate power in the Arbor and the Dornish Marches, you can really start growing fast as the Tyrells. If you end up getting a mustering, reinforcing the Red Wind Straits with ships would be a good move. And in this case, I may actually pull back in order to defend Highgarden from any ideas the Lannisters may have. Moving on to kind of what is your path to victory as the Tyrells. While I don't intend to cover the house cards too much, I think it's incredibly relevant in this situation. Sir Loras Tyrell has the ability to attack, and if they win, he has the ability to march order again into a second conquered area. This is your path to victory for Tyrells, in my opinion, in almost any case or any game you play. The reason I don't like attacking the Martells too much is because you can take this East Summer Sea and it would provide you the ability to land bridge into potentially 3 different castles. And if they're looking very vulnerable, that may be an option. However, with Sir Loras, if you time it right, you can do a quick backstab into Starfall, moving into Yornwood in order to take 2 castles. Another option available to you, if it's open, is the Sunset Sea, You could move one ship into there in order to take Flint's Flanger. That typically isn't a very well defended area, and it's ripe for the picking. However, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, because we currently have 3 castles, and even if I take Flint's Finger, and I use Loris to take Starfall and Yornwood, that doesn't get me my 7th castle. And it also overextends my forces a little too soon. So in my opinion, for the beginning of the game, you should be pushing into Blackwater and reinforcing the Reach and trying to hold on to those areas. If you can take King's Landing from what will typically become a Baratheon-controlled area, that would be fantastic. You can also try to push into Crackclaw or Harrenhal, and as soon as you establish a decent hold on any one of those castles, or if you're lucky, 2 or potentially even 3 of those castles, that is when you start turning into backstab mode by using Loris to move into Starfall and then Yornwood for the victory, or if you're one shy, borrowing Flint's Finger from what will typically be controlled by Stark or Greyjoy. So moving on to key areas of defense, Ridewind Straits are very important because the support here can help you defend Highgarden, although this sea area is typically less critical than many of the other houses. The West Summer Sea is a key area to defend because you don't want anyone coming in and raiding the Redwind Straits, which will leave your capital vulnerable to attack. If you can come to friendly terms with the Martell player, which you really should do in my opinion, the Dornish marches can reinforce the Reach, and as you move up into the core area here, the Reach can start reinforcing attacks into King's Landing or Blackwater. Subsequently, Blackwater can begin supporting Harrenhal and Crackclaw Point, and you may be able to take things like the Stony Steppe or the Sea Road marches, which can be supported from the West Summer Sea. I do find it is very hard to push into the land like this without creating too many enemies, which is why I do want to quickly reiterate that perhaps the best method of victory is taking the Reach and Blackwater, which are ambiguous in who owns those, and not getting too greedy and just snagging one castle in Harrenhal or Crackclaw Point, which may not upset the Lannisters or the Baratheons too much. That would bring you to 4, and then you can go back to the previous strategies we discussed of taking Flint's Finger for 5, and then betraying the Martell player for the victory using Loris. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below. It helps me a lot. I really hope you found this video useful or constructive. If not, leave me some comments below on what you think kind of some better strategies are. Bye.